Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to this video series on Windows Server 2012. Okay, the software management lifecycle. Although it may seem that the use of a new application requires only the installation of the necessary software, the overall process of managing applications involves many more steps. When managing software applications, there are three main phases of their life cycle as follows. Phase 1, deploying software. The first step in using applications is to install them on the appropriate client computers. Generally, some applications are deployed during the initial configuration of a PC, and others are deployed when they are requested. In the latter case, this often used to mean that system administrators and help desk staffs have to visit client computers and manually walk through the installation process. With Windows Server 2012 R2 and GPOs, the entire process can be automated. Phase 2, maintaining software. Once an application is installed and in use on client computers, you need to ensure that the software is maintained. You must keep programs up to date by applying changes due to bug fixes, enhancements, and other types of updates. This is normally done with service packs, hotfixes, and updates. As with the initial software deployment, software maintenance can be tedious. Some programs require older versions to be uninstalled before updates are added. Others allow for automatically upgrading over existing installations. Managing and deploying software updates can consume a significant amount of the IT staff's time. Phase 3, removing software. The end of the life cycle for many software products involves the actual removal of unused programs. Removing software is necessary when applications become outdated or when users no longer require their functionality. One of the traditional problems with uninstalling applications is that many of the installed files may not be removed. Furthermore, the removal of shared components can sometimes cause other programs to stop functioning properly. Also, users often forget to uninstall applications that they no longer need, and these programs continue to occupy disk space and consume valuable system resources. The Microsoft Windows installer MSI manages each of these three phases of the software maintenance lifecycle. Now that you have an overview of the process, let's move forward to look at the steps involved in deploying software using group policy. The Windows installer. If you've installed newer applications such as Microsoft Office 2013, you've probably noticed the updated setup and installation routines. Applications that comply with the updated standard use, the Windows installer specification, and MSI software packages for deployment. Each package contains information about various setup options and the files required for installation. Although the benefits may not seem dramatic on the surface, there's lots of new functionality under the hood. The Windows installer was created to solve many of the problems associated with traditional application development. It has several components, including the service installer, which runs on Windows X, Windows 2000, XP, Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows Server 2003, Windows Server 2008, Windows Server 2008 R2, Windows Server 2012, and Windows Server 2012 R2 computers. The installer program MSIEXEC.exe that is responsible for executing the instructions in a Windows installer package and the specifications third-party developers use to create their own packages. Within each installation package file is a relation structure, similar to the structure of the tables in databases, that records information about the programs contained within the package. To appreciate the true value of the Windows installer, you need to look at some of the problems with traditional software deployment mechanisms, and then at how the Windows installer addresses many of them. Application installation issues. Before the Windows installer, applications were installed using a set of programs that manage the various operations required for a program to operate. These operations included copying files, changing registry settings, and managing any other operating system changes that might be required, such as starting or stopping services. However, this method had several problems. The setup process was not robust, and aborting the operation often left many unnecessary files in the system. The process included uninstalling an application. This also left many unnecessary files in the system and remnants in the Windows registry and operating system folders. Over time, these remnants would result in reduced overall system performance and wasted disk space. There was no standard method for applying upgrades to applications, and installing a new version often required users to uninstall the old application, reboot, and then install the new program. Conflicts between different versions of dynamic link libraries, DLLs, shared program code used across different applications could cause the installation or removal of one application to break the functionality of another. Benefits of the Windows installer. Because of the many problems associated with traditional software installation, Microsoft created the Windows installer. This system provides for better manageability of the software installation process and allows system administrators more control over the deployment process. Specifically, the Windows installer provides the following benefits: improved software removal. The process of removing software is an important one because remnants left behind during the uninstall process can eventually clutter up the registry and file system. During the installation process, the Windows installer keeps track of all of the changes made by a setup package. When it comes time to remove an application, all of these changes can then be rolled back. More robust installation routines. If a typical setup program is aborted during the software installation process, the results are unpredictable. If the actual installation hasn't yet begun, then the installer generally removes any temporary files that may have been created. However, if the file copy routine starts before the system encounters an error, it is likely that the files will not be automatically removed from the operating system. In contrast, the Windows installer allows you to roll back any changes when the application setup process is aborted. Ability to use elevated privileges. Installing applications usually requires a user to have administrator permissions on the local computer because file system and registry changes are required. When installing software for network users, systems administrators have two options. First, they can log off the computer before installing the software and then log back on as a user who has administrator permissions on the local computer. This method is tedious and time-consuming. The second option is to give user administrator permissions temporarily on their own machines. This method could cause security problems and requires the attention of a system administrator. Through the use of the installer service, the Windows installer is able to use temporary elevated privileges to install applications. This allows users, regardless of their security settings, to execute the installation of authorized applications. This saves time and preserves security. Support for repairing corrupted applications. Regardless of how well a network environment is managed, critical files are sometimes lost or corrupted. Such problems can prevent applications from running properly and can cause crashes. Windows installer packages provide you with the ability to verify the installation of an application and, if necessary, replace any missing or corrupted files. This support saves time and lessens end user headaches associated with removing and reinstalling an entire application to replace just a few files. Prevention of file conflicts. Generally, different versions of the same files should be compatible with each other. In the real world, however, this isn't always the case. A classic problem in the Windows world is the case of one program replacing DLLs that are used by several other programs. Windows Installer accurately tracks which files are used by certain programs and ensures that any shared files are not improperly deleted or overwritten. Automated installations. A typical application setup process requires end users or system administrators to respond to several prompts. For example, any user may be able to choose the program group in which icons will be created and the file system location to which the programs will be installed. Additionally, they may be required to choose which options are installed. Although this type of flexibility is useful, it can be tedious when you are rolling out multiple applications. By using features of the Windows installer, however, users are able to specify setup options before the process begins. This allows system administrators to ensure consistency in installations, and it saves users time. Advertising and on-demand installations. One of the most powerful features of the Windows installer is its ability to perform on-demand software installations. Prior to the Windows installer, application installation options were quite basic. Either a program was installed or it was not. When setting up a computer, system administrators will be required to guess which applications the user might need and install all of them. The Windows installer supports a function known as advertising. Advertising makes applications appear to be available via the start menu. However, the programs themselves may not actually be installed on the system. When a user attempts to access an advertised application, the Windows installer automatically downloads the necessary files from a server and installs the program. The result is that the applications are installed only when they are needed, and the process requires no intervention from the end user. We'll cover the details of this process later in the chapter. Windows installer file types. When performing software deployment with the Windows installer in Windows Server 2012 or 2, you may encounter several different file types. Microsoft Windows installer packages. To take full advantage of Windows installer functionality, applications must include Microsoft Windows installer packages. Third-party application vendors and software developers normally create these packages, and they include the information required to install and configure the application and any supporting files. Microsoft Transformation (MST) files are useful when you are customizing the details of how applications are installed. When a system administrator chooses to assign or publish an application, they may want to specify additional options for the package. For example, if a system administrator wants to allow users to install only Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint components of Office 2013, they could specify these options within a transformation file. Then when users install the application, they will be provided only with the options related to these components. Microsoft patches. To maintain software patches are often required. Patches may make registry and or file system changes. Patch files, MSP, are used for minor system changes and are subject to certain limitations. Specifically, a patch file cannot remove any installed program components and cannot delete or modify any shortcuts created by the user. Initialization files. To provide support for publishing non-Windows installer applications, initialization files can be used. These files provide links to a standard executable file that is used to install an application. An example might be //server1 /software /program1 /setup.exe. These files can then be published and advertised, and users can access the add or remove programs icon to install them over the network. Application assignment scripts, AAS, store information regarding assigning programs and any settings that the system administrator makes. These files are created when group policy is used to create software package assignments for users and computers. Each of these types of files provides functionality that allows the system administrator to customize software deployment. Windows installer packages have special properties that you can view by right-clicking the file in Windows Explorer and choosing Properties. Figure 6.9, viewing the properties of an MSI package file. Deploying applications. The functionality provided by Windows Installer offers many advantages to end users who install their own software. However, this is just the beginning in a networked environment. As you'll see later in this chapter, the various features of Windows Installer and compatible packages allow system administrators to determine centrally applications that users will be able to install. There are two main methods of making programs available to end users using Active Directory: assigning and publishing. Both assigning and publishing applications greatly ease the process of deploying and managing applications in a network environment. In the following sections, you'll look at how the process of assigning and publishing applications can make life easier for IT staff and users alike. The various settings for assignment and published applications are managed through the use of GPOs. Assigning applications. Software applications can be assigned to users and computers. Assigning a software package makes the program available for automatic installation. The applications advertise their availability to the affected users or computers by placing icons within the programs folder of the start menu for Windows 8 and before and Windows Server 2012 within the area apps on Windows 8.1 and Windows Server 2012 or 2. When applications are assigned to a user, programs will be advertised to the user regardless of which computer they are using. That is, icons for the advertised program will appear regardless of whether the program is installed on that computer. If the user clicks an icon for a program and that has not yet been installed on the local computer, the application will automatically be accessed from a server and it will be installed. When an application is assigned to a computer, the program is made available to any users of the computer. For example, all users who log onto a computer that has been assigned Microsoft Office 2013 will have access to the components of the application. If the user did not previously install Microsoft Office 2013, they will be prompted for any required setup information when the program first runs. Generally, applications that are required for the vast majority of users should be assigned to computers. This reduces the amount of network bandwidth required to install applications on demand and improves the end user experience by preventing the delay involved when installing an application for the first time it is accessed. Any applications that may be used by only a few users or for those with specific job tasks should be assigned to users. Publishing applications. When applications are published, they are advertised, but no icons are automatically created. Instead, the applications are made available for installation using the Add or Remove Programs icon in Control Panel. Implementing software deployment. So far, you have become familiar with the issues related to software deployment and managing from a theoretical level. Now it's time to drill down into the actual steps required to deploy software using the features of Active Directory and the GPMC. In the following sections, you will walk through the steps required to create an application distribution SharePoint, to publish and assign applications, to update previously installed applications, to verify the installation of applications, and to update Windows operating systems. So I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you.